Never dreamed. I knew he could play, but I didn't know he could play this good.
The year is 2003, and the game of poker is about to be changed forever. A 27-year-old accountant from Tennessee plays a random satellite tournament on PokerStars and wins a ticket to the World Series of Poker main event. A couple of months later, he wins the tournament and walks away with over $2.5 million. Meet Chris Moneymaker. Yes, that's his real name. This guy came out of nowhere and single-handedly created the online poker boom in the early 2000s. So much so that the sudden rising interest in the game was dubbed the Moneymaker effect. The crazy part is, he never even played in a live tournament before. Talk about beginner's luck. In this video, you'll find out how Moneymaker managed to outplay the seasoned pros and become the world champion. Let's dive right in. In the first days of the main event, Chris was a nervous wreck, fumbling with his chips and trying his best to follow the action. But he remained disciplined, carefully picking his spots and slowly building up his chip stack. Big multi-table tournaments are all about survival, and Moneymaker was doing all he could to stay alive. And somehow, against the odds, he managed to fight his way to the final table. What's even more impressive is that he got to the final table with a formidable chip lead. The first hand Chris decides to play is 5-4 offsuit. Remember this hand because it'll come up again later on. Gray is short stacked and pot committed, so of course he jams his nuts flush draw. Moneymaker has enough chips to play with, so he decides to gamble it up a bit. Surprisingly, Amir Vahidi also makes a loose call with the pair of fives. Moneymaker's prospects don't look too good.
He checks with a pair of fives over to David Gray.
Moneymaker and Vahidi with a pair of fives, but David Gray has picked up the nut flush draw.
In.
And he says all in.
Bingo. 89.
Well, David Gray putting his tournament life at stake right now.
When you go all in, you can't pick your spots when you have short stacks, so this is a good spot for him to go in, but you really don't want people calling you because he just has a draw. He'd like to take it down right now. Well, he's not going to get his wish.
He is not going to indeed. Chris Moneymaker calls with his pair of fives. And the sweat starts to roll.
89. 99, you wouldn't even think about it.
Just below his threshold.
Just like a guy in death row. So I'm just like a guy in death row.
You've had to stay a couple times.
I've had a couple stays of execution, so I'm good with the governor.
Yes, sir, you came in with 22.
That's right.
Well, he's hoping that governor gets reelected.
Yeah, but Amir Vahidi doesn't know from the governor. He seems to be stacking up his chips and like he's a potential another executioner.
Couldn't have raised $1 million and knocked him out.
And David Gray all in will get 2 callers, and he can't be happy about that.
I'm going. Maybe home.
Well, he knows his possible fate. We're ready for the turn card. It's a 4 of hearts, and now 2 pair for Chris Moneymaker.
And only a spade will save David Gray.
River card, though, is an ace of clubs, and while the 2 aces for Gray take down Vahidi, it does not beat Moneymaker.
2 pair.
And David Gray sees the 2 pair. He is done for this tournament.
Chris eliminates Gray, who takes home the consolation prize of only $160,000. Moneymaker's been playing fairly tight so far, so he decides to mix it up with 10-9 offsuit. You can't just sit at the main event final table and twiddle your thumbs all day, right? He flops top pair, but unfortunately for him, Sam Farha flops top set, and Moneymaker's drawing almost completely dead. Will he be able to get away from his hand on time?
Chris Moneymaker reaching for the stack. Looks like he is going to call the bet, and he does.
Yeah, he's got a pair of 9s. It's the top pair on board. Of course, he's behind Sammy Farha, and he kind of likes the amount of chips that are in there right now, so maybe that's why he's calling this moderate bet. Oh.
But he's going to stick around.
He's got an inside straight draw. He's fishing without a pole. He's got nothing, and he's staying in this pot.
All right, here comes a turn card. It's a 6.
Well, the fat lady has just sung.
Wow.
Sammy Farha cannot be beaten this hand, as the check indicates. He has a 9s full house over 6s. But Vahidi is acting quite quickly. He's going to take a stab here. He's going to bet $300,000. What he doesn't know is he has no shot of buying this pot line. Sammy Farha is not leaving this hand. If a nuclear bomb were to drop, Sammy would still hold on to his cards. Another thing, you saw how quickly Amir acted. When you bluff, sometimes you act strong, like you have something. So he moved his chips in real quickly, and that often is a tell that you're bluffing. And he has nothing.
I don't think there's any question Sam Farha is going to play. It's just how much now. And he does just call it.
He decides to call rather than raise, probably trying to induce both the others to come in.
And he makes a great laydown, hanging on to his chip lead. This makes sense, as you don't want to risk a huge portion of your stack unless absolutely necessary. In the next stack, Yong Pak is short stacked, so he needs to make a move fast. He goes all in with ace-10 and gets snapped off by Lester, who has ace-king.
Lester ahead of the ace-10, the higher kicker with the ace.
2 more aces, though.
But still the king kicker ahead, and he's going to need to get a 10 to get a full house, Mr. Pack.
It's a jack.
Now he's picked up a heart draw, plus he could get a jack or a 3, and they would have identical full houses and split the pot.
The river card is an 8 of clubs, and it is not good enough to keep Yong Pak in the tournament. He is eliminated.
With Pak eliminated, we're down to the final 6 players. Moneymaker's been biding his time, waiting for a good opportunity to get involved in the pot. Sam Farha, who's been playing fairly aggressively so far, raises it up with ace-queen. Chris makes the call with his speculative hand. Both players check the flop, and Moneymaker turns an open-ended straight draw, giving him plenty of equity against Farha's top pair. Chris leads out, and Farha raises it up to 300,000. Moneymaker has way too many outs here, so he makes a reluctant call. He misses his straight, so the only way for him to win the hand is to try to push Farha out of the pot. But this will be challenging, as Farha improves to trips on the river.
And he's reaching.
Has he been bored? Is he feeling like he has to make something happen?
Nah, I think he's making a play here. He's going to make a stab at the pot.
400,000 is the bet from Chris Moneymaker to Sam Farha.
He's figuring maybe Sammy Farha, who plays a lot of hands, maybe he was on a draw and he missed. So you don't. Sometimes you don't play the cards, you play the man. I tried that during my first marriage and I lost. And now he doesn't know that Sammy's got a good hand.
Well, Sam, of course, calls it, turns over his cards, and Moneymaker knows he's been beaten by the 3 aces.
And
of course, Farha snaps him off and takes away the chip lead from Moneymaker. Chris may have been lucky against his fellow amateur players so far, but now he's up against a table full of seasoned pros. The road to the championship title is going to be anything but easy. A couple of hands later, Moneymaker's dealt pocket 4s and he raises it up to 100K. He wouldn't mind picking up the pot pre-flop, but Vahedi spoils his plans and 3-bet jams his ace-queen. Chris is not going to gamble with this one, so he makes another laydown, waiting for a better spot. Moments later, Sam Farha claims another victim, making a great read against Vahedi's bluff.
Well, Amir has told us time and time again here at this tournament, in order to live, you have to be willing to die.
You let go against him, let go against me too.
And Farha, who I was pretty sure was going to call, once he heard Amir say that, decided that's a bluff. It was like a tell, and he said, I'm going right in.
And Amir embarrassed to turn over that 4-6, and his days are numbered in seconds now.
Yeah, he's going to need 2 running hearts, or he's going to need a 4 and a 6.
Amir Vahedi is eliminated from the tournament, taking home $250,000 for his 6th place finish. With only 5 players remaining, the pace of action picks up. Dan Harrington open raises with pocket 4s, and Chris calls with ace-deuce, showing he's not afraid to play against the former world champion. Tomar Benvenisti is short-stacked, so he goes for a 3-bet squeeze with jack-10. Chris realizes something doesn't add up, so he makes a great call. He's a slight favorite to win, but we're still looking at a coin flip.
The pot is over $1 million.
And when they turn their cards over, Tomer's not going to like to see that he's actually a little behind because of the ace.
All right, we're ready for our flop. Benvenisti's tournament life at stake here.
No 10s or jacks. No 10s or jacks.
And here it comes. 2 8s and an ace. Chris Moneymaker has a pair of aces.
Oh, and he continues to sleep with angels. And because of that, Tomer about to be sleeping with the fishes unless he gets very lucky now.
Here comes the turn. It's a 9, and that helps Benvenisti, actually.
Tomer now has a straight draw. He will need a 7 or a queen to stay alive.
Don't do it to me.
Sam Farha looking on with amusement. And it is a 9, not good enough for Benvenisti. Moneymaker's gamble pays off. And for Tomer Benvenisti, 5th place, $320,000 in prize money.
Only 3 players left between Moneymaker and one of the most thrilling underdog stories in the history of poker. Next hand, Chris open raises with Queen Jack, and Lester fires right back at him with Ace Queen. Is Moneymaker going to be able to dodge another bullet? He does make the call, which could prove quite costly. Queen Jack offsuit is usually not in a good shape against the 3-betting range, as it could easily be dominated by stronger hands. Then again, you never know what the flop's going to bring, right?
Needs some help with these cards to come, and wow, did he get it!
He's flopped the top straight. My goodness.
8, 9, 10, Jack, Queen. Wow.
Oh, but Jason Lester doesn't know that. He goes all in, and Moneymaker calls immediately, turns over his cards, and like puts a knife into the side of Jason Lester.
Jack or heart would be nice.
Indeed, that would give him a straight as well and a split pot. The turn now comes a queen. 2 queens for Jason, still not good enough.
No, he has to have a jack to stay alive.
And now the river card, a 3 of diamonds. Not going to do it. Chris Moneymaker wins the hand.
A miracle flop for Moneymaker, and Jason Lester's eliminated. Next hand, Moneymaker opens with Ace-4 suited, and Sam Farha 3-bets his pocket queens. One advantage to playing very aggressively is the fact that other players aren't going to give your raises a lot of respect, which is great news when you wake up with a monster hand. Moneymaker's been running very hot so far, so let's see if his sick run will continue.
So we have a 2-handed flop. And it is Jack, 3, Ace, and Moneymaker's 2 aces just trumped the queens.
Yes, they did. And Farha can't like to see the ace out there.
Checks. Chris Moneymaker just put down 200,000 chips. And a glare.
Well, as I said, the only cards that would have bothered Sammy are the ace or the king, because then aces or kings would beat his pocket queens. So he's trying to figure out whether he thinks Mr. Moneymaker is holding on to an ace.
You see that percentage next to Moneymaker, a huge advantage right now.
Sam Farha gets away from his queens, and Moneymaker probably got a bit carried away, failing to get some value out of his top pair. Be that as it may, he still takes the chip lead once again. The blinds and the pressure keep increasing, and Dan Harrington has to make a move if he wants to clutch his second bracelet. He makes a move with King 10, and Moneymaker re-raises with Ace Queen. Harrington decides to take the stand and moves all in. Moneymaker snaps him off.
Dan, though, doesn't have the luxury of picking out what hand he's going to go all in with. That was a good one to go all in with, and the 10 on the flop gives him the lead now in the hand.
And here comes the turn card. It's a jack.
Moneymaker would need an ace or a queen, or now a king for a straight to knock out Dan Harrington.
This time, luck wasn't on Moneymaker's side, and Harrington won a crucial hand to stay in the game. This last hand might have rattled Moneymaker a bit, as he decides to make a creative raise with Queen 2 offsuit. Harrington makes the call with Ace 4. Quite a lucky flop for Chris, but just wait till you see the turn card.
100,000 from Chris Moneymaker on the bet. And Harrington calls it.
And on the turn, Moneymaker makes a full house, queens over 2s, but he checks it. And he might be trying to induce Harrington to maybe make a hand on the river and call on the river, thinking Harrington might have left on the turn.
The 7 is no help on the river. Harrington checks. Moneymaker's now going to turn up the heat on Dan.
For $400,000, Harrington, of course, has aces up.
Harrington is going to call it. That was quick for Dan Harrington. And Chris Moneymaker turns over his hand, shows him the full house, and a big hit on Dan Harrington.
Chris scoops up the pot, and Harrington just can't believe his eyes. Could you imagine pulling off something like this against Phil Hellmuth? Next hand, Sam Farha open raises with pocket 5s, and Chris re-raises with Ace 7, playing right back against the table bully. No help for either player on this monotone board, but Chris makes a c-bet anyway. Farha is not going anywhere just yet. Chris picks up some outs and continues barreling, putting maximum pressure on his opponent. And Farha lays down the best hand. At this stage of the tournament, players really don't have the luxury of waiting around for premium hands. They have to make do with what they get. This is exactly what happens in the next hand, as Harrington open raises with 5-3 and Moneymaker calls with ace-9. Farha joins the action with jack-2 and we get 3 ways to the flop. Players check through the flop and Farha hits a lucky jack on the turn. Let's see if he can get any action here.
But, of course, Sam Farha, with those 3 jacks, bets $150,000.
Moneymaker now would be drawing dead, and he's going to call. He doesn't even have a good draw, but he's drawing dead on the river. No card could help him against Sammy Farha.
Here comes the river card. It's a 6 of diamonds. Chris Moneymaker checks over to Farha.
The reason it's always tough to get a read on Sammy Farha is he always takes the same amount of time, the same expression on his face. You never know whether he's holding a monster or whether he's holding nothing.
And now he goes to the stack. $500,000 to Chris Moneymaker.
And I can't imagine him wanting to call here. All he has is ace high. But again, he's just not sure what Sammy has. You never are sure.
Moneymaker may have overplayed his hand, but he did manage to get away from it on time. Farha gets a bit riled up and then makes a crazy proposition.
Let's put it all in and see who wins. One hand.
I've been trying to do that.
All right, yeah, let's do the 3 of us, yeah.
Do you want to do that? Without looking, deal the cards and let's see who wins.
What the hell? Let's gamble.
We've been gambling.
In the end, they just keep playing by the book and the action is back on Harrington. He bets out with a diamond flush draw and Moneymaker fires back with his top pair, not allowing Dan to play the hand on his own terms. Could this be the deciding hand for Dan Harrington?
So a diamond draw for Harrington with a pair of 6s, but Moneymaker has a pair of 10s.
Dan Harrington will bet $150,000, and Moneymaker raised it immediately.
And that raise would force Dan Harrington to go all in.
All right, I call.
Dan Harrington has risked elimination one more time, this time against Chris Moneymaker.
And he'd love to see a diamond come up. A 6 or a king would also help Harrington.
Here comes the turn card, ace of hearts.
And now he's down to 1 card. He needs the king, the 6, or the diamond to stay alive.
The river card is the final card for Dan Harrington.
And just like that, Moneymaker eliminates the former world champion. But he still has a daunting task ahead of him as he goes heads up with the formidable Sam Farha. The first hand of the heads-up match starts off a bit slow as both players miss the flop, but it's about to get a lot more interesting on the turn. Fortunately for Chris, the flush draw doesn't complete, so he gets away without a scratch. Now he has position on Farha, so he makes a move with King 7. Sam defends with Queen 9.
When it's heads up, odd things happen.
Flop comes 9-2-6. Farha has made a pair of 9s. Chris Moneymaker has nothing and checks. Checks for Farha as well. The turn is an 8.
And now they both have a spade draw.
$300,000 from Sam Farha,
who has the pair of 9s, and Moneymaker also has a straight draw and will raise.
There's a 300. No, I raise.
very adamant about his raise.
Indeed. Still stacking chips. It's a big raise.
5 more.
500,000 is the raise.
It's quite a play. It's sort of a semi-bluff. He still could get there on a straight draw or flush draw, but he has nothing right now, and Sam comes right on in.
We're going to see the river card.
You said it's going to be over soon.
It may well be, and is a 3 of hearts.
Moneymaker doesn't get to either draw, and the pair of 9s is best.
I'm all in.
Chris Moneymaker going all in with nothing.
A stunning play from Moneymaker, who missed his draws, has nothing, and now has put Sam Farha all in. He would have to put all his chips in, and if he lost this pot, he would be out of the tournament. Moneymaker bluffed at this once, and Farha came. He's now bluffing at it again.
You must have missed your flush, huh?
Sam's absolutely right.
This would be a tough, tough call for Sammy.
Is Chris bluffing this time?
No.
He ain't bluffed all night.
No.
It's quite a predicament for Sammy. He has a pair of nines. It's the best hand, but he can't know that. And if he calls this bet and loses, we're playing for the World Championship. If he's wrong, he's out of it. He's the runner-up. So it's really tough just to sit here and call with a pair of nines, particularly when Moneymaker has made 2 big bets in a row.
Make a crazy call on you. Could be the best hand.
Sam Farha trying to draw something out of Chris Moneymaker, but he's like a statue, afraid to make any sort of move.
Sam, you want to save yourself, you won't call.
Don't do it.
Don't do it, Sam.
Don't do it.
And Farha lays down the best hand again. An absolutely amazing bluff by Moneymaker, but it's not quite over yet. Next hand, Sam opens with Jack 10 and Chris defends with 5-4. And both players connect with the flop. Could this be the deciding hand?
1 for Sam Farha.
Your top pair for Sam Farha, but once again, Chris Moneymaker has gotten another fortunate flop.
Chris Moneymaker checks now over to Sam Farha, who throws in a bet of $175,000. He's reaching.
I'm gonna raise.
The raise is $300,000 now. Back to Farha.
Okay, I go all in. Let's go.
I'll call.
Sam Farha goes all in, and Chris Moneymaker's going to call it.
And Sam sees the grim news, and with 2 pair, Chris Moneymaker, a statistical improbability to win this title at the outset, is now closing in on making it an incredible reality.
Turn card is an 8 of diamonds.
No help yet, and Farha to stay alive would need a jack, a 10, or an 8, or this is over.
1 card away from a new world, Chris Moneymaker.
This could be the last card of the 2003 World Series of Poker.
It's a 5.
Moneymaker's sensational win didn't just change the game. It inspired a whole new generation of players grinding online, chasing that same dream. And one of them would go on to become a poker legend and redefine what was possible at the table. His name? Pius Hines, and at only 22 years old, he followed in Moneymaker's footsteps and made his own mark on poker history. So if you want to see how a young, brash college kid managed to outplay the pros for a staggering $8.7 million, then click on this video right here to find out. We'll see you there.